ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Top of the box is Jackson Irvine. The shots well charged down. Irvine there again. Jackson Irvine!
Jackson Irvine is very, very good at football. He's captain of the Socceroos. He's also captain of club side St. Pauli in the German Bundesliga. And there's a common refrain about the midfielder that he's a bit different. And what is normally meant by that is that he likes fashion, paints his nails and has lots of tattoos and is interested in issues beyond the pitch. Irvine was a central face of the Socceroos protest video at the last Men's World Cup, calling on the Qatar government to do better for migrant workers and the LGBTQI plus community. He's just been re-elected as a representative of Players Union FIFPRO. Their MO, standing up for the athletes. It's darkly ironic that his ascension has happened just as a club power broker sledged him online. Today on this weekend special, he's joining us to talk about all of that and more. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Jackson Irvine is a footballer with the Socceroos in St. Pauli. He's also co-president of the Australian Professional Footballers Association. He's just been reappointed to FIFPRO Global Players Council. Jackson, welcome. The Socceroos are playing Canada and the United States over this international window. You won't be there due to a quad issue. I just wanted to start by asking you about that. How frustrating has this run of injury been?
Yeah, it's been arguably the most kind of difficult period of my career, I suppose, in that sense, from having a major operation, back in April and going through that rehab process and battling every day to get a little bit better each day and try and get myself back on the pitch as soon as possible. I know it's a big year ahead for both club and country, and I'm keen to be involved as much as possible. So, but it is a long season and I need to make sure I'm at 100% before I start pushing myself too hard.
We're here to talk about who you are off the pitch as much as on it. And leadership's been a massive aspect of who you are as a player. I just wanted to understand, how have you found your capacity to do that when you've been so injured in recent times? It must have brought a different dimension to it in some regards.
Yeah, it is. It's a different challenge. I suppose as someone who's been very fortunate in my career, I've been mostly healthy throughout my whole career, and I've never really had to deal with this kind of dynamic of my own and off-field lives. I suppose when you're playing, everything is just a little bit easier. There's not so much conversation around what you are and aren't doing, which kind of doesn't make sense because you would think when you're injured, you would have more capacity and more time to do that when you're not going through the physical strain of professional sport. So, of course, all your main energy is going into recovering as that's your main job. But it's important that you balance that off in other aspects of your life. And the union work's been a great way for me to find perspective and keep looking at the big picture.
We're going to dive into some of that work in just a moment, but I wanted to ask you about St. Pauli. I mean, a lot of our listeners maybe wouldn't know the Bundesliga that well. How would you describe your German club?
It's a cult club, as everybody likes to call it. It's got an international reputation more for its off-field positions than on-field. And, it's not traditionally a club that competes at the top level year in, year out. But I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the group that took us back to the Bundesliga. And we obviously managed to stay up last year, and we're looking to do the same again.
I think a good player can bring a lot to a club, but I think a great club can bring a lot to a player as well. It sounds like I get the sense from what I've read of you that this is a club that's been able to bring, an extra level to who you are. Yeah,
I suppose more from the fans and community perspective even than from the club, in the sense that ultimately it's, in German football especially, it's the fans who have the biggest say, and they've not only embraced me, but they've, encouraged me to explore other aspects of my life and personality alongside playing.
St. Pauli, since many years, it stands for not discriminating people. It stands for anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-homophobia.
It's added so much to my life on and off the pitch, and I'm very grateful for having the chance to have done that over the last few years.
I always find it kind of humorous when I read profiles of athletes like yourself, and people might position you as inverted commas different, whether that's, your love of vintage or the fact that, you catch the train to games with fans and home sometimes, or, your love of, fashion and clothes and art. I think it's partly around the way we've been conditioned to think of athletes and their personas. I just wanted to understand, I'm sure you've seen those characterizations. How does that sit with you? How does that land with you?
Yeah, I suppose you're absolutely right. And as someone who's spent my entire life in in the bubble of professional sport, and I know it more than most how easy it can be to fall into those stereotypes, because they're stereotypes for a reason, because they're based around media. For one thing is one way. You know, when you watch a lot of, you know, especially in my football, we're not overly encouraged to be too expressive with the way we feel and the way we even see games in post-match interviews, and they can sometimes come across as a bit sterile. And for myself, I've never tried to intentionally break free of that bubble. I suppose it's just I've been fortunate that I've been surrounded by family and friends that have been supportive of me expressing myself in a different way. And I've also been a part of great clubs and, you know, a great national team, and been around people who have also encouraged and embraced that way that I've tried to conduct myself as a footballer, and that's just to be the truest version of myself. And it's just great to be part of a community that allows you to do that when you're sometimes a part of a broader sport, which maybe it isn't the norm.
This week it's been announced, as I say, you're back as a player rep for the Players Union FIFPRO. Why do you want to be a leader, even beyond, say, club or national or on-field duties, in something such, in a bigger capacity, I suppose?
Listen, I've always been a big believer in workers' rights in its basic form, and to be a part of a group of players and a group of, you know, amazing, diverse people who have the chance to have real influence and make real change. And ultimately, you know, it's the game I love, and I see that there's areas for improvement. And I think that a player's perspective is sometimes missing. And, you know, when you can be a part of something like this Global Players Council, when you have, as I said, such a diverse and broad group of players that had all amazing careers across different levels, you bring a totally unique perspective, and you can kind of use that to shape the game to make it in its best form.
What do you see as the biggest challenge? I mean, you talk about or allude to some of the issues being faced by players. You know, what do you and FIFPRO want to address?
Of course, it's again, as broad as the council is as broad as the range of topics. From, of course, player load has become an increasingly big topic over in football, over as, you know, the leagues expand and more games come into play. Women's rights and women's health and how that affects performance is something that's been long missed in the perspective of professional sport. Mental health, online abuse. There's such a broad range of topics that we're able to discuss and try and find solutions for as athletes that deal with these issues on the day-to-day, and, you know, for generations to come, can hopefully make those spaces a little bit safer and those conditions a little bit better for the next generation of players.
The workload piece is so fascinating to me, because I feel like it cuts across all different sports. We were talking earlier this week on this podcast about the tennis situation and the grueling schedule and the result it's having on players. When I saw the Club World Cup taking part in the US earlier this year, it kind of blew my mind. You know, it feels like we're playing football 13 months a year. You must look at it as someone who's at the front lines of it, just think, this is just wild. This is crazy.
Yeah, and, you know, as an international footballer and as an Australian international footballer who plays in Europe, the travel that takes place within that as well is another stress that affects performance. And listen, the more and more games, we understand that football is it's the global game, it's the world's biggest sport. People want more and they want the product. But at the end of the day, when the more we ask players to perform, the more it's going to affect the quality and level of what we're trying to do. And players only want one thing, and that's to be able to perform at their very best consistently without the risk of injury and other stress. So more and more of especially, you know, I'm very fortunate to play in one of the top 5 leagues, but these clubs that play in the top level of these leagues, as you just discussed, the ones that play Champions League, Club World Cup, the level that we're asking them to play at consistently is just so demanding, and it's great to see them raise their voices and use that platform to try and have a reasonable discussion about why that is.
To speak truth to power is no small thing, and I thought it was huge when you and your Socceroo's teammates fronted a protest video leading into the Qatar World Cup.
There are universal values that should define football. Values such as respect, dignity, trust, and courage. When we represent our nation, we aspire to embody these values.
As PFA members, we understand the power of collective bargaining and the fundamental rights of all workers to form and join a union.
Was there blowback from that, Jackson?
Minimal in the sense that I think there could have been a lot more, but we were so fortunate to work with our amazing PFA staff who, over the year building up to the release of that video, we had conversations with Amnesty International, international labour organisations, workers themselves in Qatar. We really left no stone unturned to understand this issue as deeply and truly as possible as people who were intrinsically linked to the lives of these people who are there working to perform the tournament that we were going to be a part of. And we were so well educated and researched in this issue that we kind of didn't give people the space to criticize what we spoke about because of the way we managed it. I think that was probably the key aspect of why we probably didn't face the same level of criticism as, say, Germany and the ones who wanted to wear the One Love armband and then couldn't and tried other gestures. And then in the end, people were always judging performance based on, why are they not focusing on football? Why are they talking about this? Why are they just, do this and that? Whereas we researched, understood the topic. So when it came to Qatar, we focused on performance and we had our best ever World Cup as a team.
And here's a break led by Leckie. He's all on his own. No help whatsoever. Matthew Leckie! What a goal. He didn't need the support. He did it all on his own.
Of course, it's a result of our performance on the pitch, but I believe it was our preparation in all aspects that led to that.
At a time where people are kind of afraid to speak out on anything, it's big to sort of take a stance on anything. So as you look ahead to the US, Mexico, Canada World Cup, I wonder whether you're doing similar sort of levels of research now. I mean, the American president and his tenure looms large. Is there an issue that the PFA, is passionate about that you seek to address?
Listen, it's a long year ahead, but those conversations are starting to take place. As we said, these are issues that we all care about when we talk about, as you say, everything that's happening in the US at the moment as well. And as players, there has been a big generational shift in the Socceroos as well. So there's a different dynamic there as well when we talk to players who haven't been a part of these conversations before. So there has to be not an ease in, but we have to start to get a feeling for the group as well, for how involved they want to be in these conversations. Because the one thing as well, when we have these conversations, I am the president of the PFA, I'm one of the leaders in the Socceroos, but I would never ask the players to be a part of something that they didn't believe in. So, over the next 12 months, we'll start to have those conversations again and understand where the players' passion lies and start to get a clearer understanding of the kind of group that we want to be over the next 12 months.
The next question's somewhat uncomfortable, and I understand if you rather not answer it, but part of the work, as I've said, that you're doing across sport speaks of a desire to address people in power who run the sport and step outside the lines. In recent weeks, you've faced criticism from your own club's board on your Instagram account, and as your wife, Jamila, outlined on social media, it was bang out of line.
While to use your own account with your name and your employer in your username, I've never bullied anyone online, but I'm pretty sure, trolling 101 is get a burner account. Yeah, unless you're trying to intimidate me from your position of power. Actually, I don't know if you're technically, employed, because the board members are voted for by the members of the club.
I just wanted to ask more on a human level, how hard has that episode been for, obviously, a club that you have a deep intrinsic ties with?
Talking purely from the personal aspect of it, it's been a different kind of challenge for my wife and myself. As I said, we've been part of this community for over 4 years. We've built amazing relationships and in all corners of this city, and to have received something like that from a person in this position was, of course, deeply hurtful. But what I would rather focus on is the amazing level of support we've had from fans, from people in our community. We live in the heart of St. Pauli. We are part of this community, and everyone that we've spoken to has shared the disappointment and outrage in the situation and shown their support with us. And we just hope that, not to talk about the official aspect of it, but we hope obviously something will be done about it. But from our side, we've felt the love and support of the people around us, which is, to us, the most important thing.
Last one on this. Could you maybe share, why do you think this happened? Just from the outside looking in, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to dive too much into that, to be honest, mate, but I think most people who have followed my story over the last few months probably understand why this has happened. It's a far deeper conversation into a lot of other things away from football. And listen, it's something that I hope can be resolved, and because it's something that you don't want to be having to deal with, especially during, for myself, coming back from an injury where you want to put your full energy into that. And of course, for my family, who, more importantly, I want to feel safe and comfortable, in the community that we live in.
As you well know, a playing career is finite, and it's really interesting to see you building something that stretches way beyond the pitch. Do you have a long-term dream or goal in mind as to where you see yourself post your playing days? I know that can probably feel like a long way away right now.
I'm in a stage of my career where opportunities have kind of are falling to me in such an amazing way, and I'm an open person. I like to try new things, and I've tried my hand at commentary. I've done some media stuff. I just recently promoted and put on a gig at a festival here in Hamburg. I'm working in fashion department things, and I don't know, I'm very fortunate, and of course, the union work I do as well. And these are things that I'm fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to do, because they're things that I'm passionate about, the things I care about, the things that I love. And the football will always be a part of my life in some way, I'm sure, but it's great to have other options to explore as well. And I hope I've still got good playing years left in me, but it's amazing to start to explore how life could look, beyond that as well.
Australian football fans will be so excited to see you back in the green and gold, hopefully ASAP. 2 huge internationals coming up over the next international window. Sad you won't be there, but looking forward to you making your way back to the international tier. Thanks so much, Jackson. We appreciate your time and your candour. Really good of you.
Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate you.
That was our special weekend feature on Jackson Irvine. Interesting bloke, right? We will be back Monday with our regular programming. See you then. Thanks to Paramount Plus, Sports Illustrated, the Socceroos and FIFA for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.